All right. Well, we are live on Facebook again. What's old is new again. I'm
Back
Scott
again.
Sternberg, managing partner of Sternberg, Necker and White, and currently in exile in Alabama, having evacuated with my family here. And glad to have with me here on the Zoom my partner Justin Alsterberg, who's a litigation ace. And Justin, how are you? Where are you?
I'm good. I'm in Destin. I was able to find a condo last minute that would take my dog, which was the biggest issue. So we're set up here. I'm comfortable. She's comfortable. It was nice to have a really hot shower this morning.
Yeah.
So, the little things during times like these, right?
You know it. So we're going to give people a quick briefing on economic damages to their business and business interruption claims, and then some property damage claims. So Justin, you're our kind of ace litigator as it relates to insurance. So for both of those different types of claims, how do you set them up?
Well, the most important part of setting them up is not just thinking that the process is, oh, I need to get in touch with my insurance agent and just dump a bunch of information. That is going to get you pushed to the back of the line, which is even more so problematic when you're going to have a post-hurricane loss like this. The biggest thing is documentation, but most importantly, putting it together in the right kind of package and in the right kind of way. Because look, people who work for insurance companies they're humans just like we are, right? If they can deal with claims easier because they're more properly documented and they're put together in a package that they understand and that fits with what your coverages are, then it's easier for them to do their job when they've been hit with thousands and thousands of claims. And obviously, it's been a long time, right? And the anniversary was eerie. But, that's what happened with the insurance industry in post-Katrina. People who properly documented their claims, put them together in a way that the insurance companies could navigate through easier. Their claims got resolved much sooner than people who did not do that, or who trusted the wrong people, or who, unfortunately hired out-of-state profiteers who were coming in trying to make money, making them promises that they would help, and weren't really the right resource. And, Scott, it's unfortunate that I even have to bring these things up. We're going through a hard enough time as it is, but it's something people need to be aware of. While we're far enough out, it's in the insurance claim and adjusting industry, there are bad actors, no different than so many people who got ripped off by bad contractors after Katrina. And so when you're doing that, you want to make sure that you're talking to the right people. You want to make sure that these people are licensed, that they know what they're doing, that they may speak the insurance company language. Insurance policies are books, right? They're this thick for a simple one. Yeah. And you and I know, Scott, we have corporate clients where the insurance policies are this thick, right? We have to navigate through it as lawyers who do this all the time. And that's also very important when you're making your claim, knowing exactly what your claim is for and how to make that claim. And so it really comes down to putting the right package together. That all being said,
Justin, real quick, it's really early. It really just hit like 2 days ago, and people are far flung, and how they're going to deal with their insurance company is probably the least of everyone's problems right now. So we don't want to get too granular or tell you that you need to do certain things right this moment. But as it relates to a business interruption claim, like if you own a business and you have business interruption insurance, what should you be thinking about 2, 3, 7 days out from the event?
Okay, you need to be thinking out your financial records, your tax records, where you keep them, how you keep them. Do you have in-house accounting that has it? Hopefully, if you do, you have that cloud-based. If you don't, whenever you get into your business, you need to secure those records immediately. Okay. If you have an outside accountant, you want to be checking with them to see what they have. But most importantly, you need to be, I would be looking at my policy to make sure I have the coverage. And if you don't know how to read it, which a lot of people don't, seeing what that is. The bottom line, it is early, right? But we also have, a lot of us have some time on our hands right now. And there are things that we can do to take up our time that will be helpful getting the stage set for these kinds of things. The biggest thing, though, that I want people to be aware of is business interruption insurance in most policies does not just cover a simple power outage. Okay. You would have had to have had actual damage to your business. Now, that's not always the case, but that's something, and that's a misnomer that I want people to understand right from the get-go, because we all have to make life decisions, right, about what we're going to do and how our finances are going to be. And it can be a very big misnomer, and people just think, oh, well, because Entergy, the power's out, I can't operate. Well, if you were fortunate enough to not have damage to your business, there's actually probably a pretty good chance that you do not have business interruption coverage.
So
Again,
like us, I mean,
that's not always the case.
Yeah, like our firm's working from everywhere, so we probably don't have a business interruption claim unless we have the actual damage to the property, right? I mean, that's because that's kind of one of the benefits and kind of a double-edged sword of being a virtual firm like we are.
That's exactly correct. And that's why, as you know, since I was originally downtown, that was the first thing I checked for the firm, was to see if we had windows blown out in our building or anything like that, because that was a consideration that we were going to have to look at. The other important thing with that is, if you do have damage, in addition to the financial records, let's talk about retail. Let's talk about if you're a restaurant or whatnot, whatever records you have for your inventory. Okay. One of our clients has a convenience store over on the West Bank. And that's what I told him this morning. I said, wherever you have your records of all the things that you have purchased, because his roof got pretty seriously ripped off, and it's going to be able to have to document the inventory that he lost. Okay, so where do you keep those records? How would you put it together? It's not. And the biggest thing is, on the business interruption side, is that a lot of people don't realize this as well. Insurance companies, they have their own accountants. They have their own team that is going to pour through your records. And that's why I brought up the tax records, because in the past, we've used the sales tax records to really support our position when the insurance company was trying to say, well, the business loss is not as much as you were attempting to claim. It's like anything else, Scott. It's just as with the property damage stuff that we're going to talk about, where you might disagree with how much it's going to cost to put the roof back on. The insurance company isn't just going to take your documentation and say, oh yeah, you've got $50,000 of business loss this month. Here's your check. It's not that simple. It's never going to be that simple. And so, all of those things and all of the aspects and ways in which you make revenue that you have lost, you are going to be able to need to provide documentation.
Right. So I guess for a business interruption claim, I mean, we're obviously, at Sternberg, Nack and Wright, we're offering a free review to any of our clients and friends of that business interruption insurance. And if you want to get in touch with Justin, you can email him. His email is ja@snw.law, or you can just go to our website, snw.law, and submit a hurricane question at the very top of the website. But how long does it take, Justin? I mean, your experience with this insurance stuff, how long does it really take you to read a policy and know, is this going to be covered? Is it not going to be covered? Is every policy the same? I mean, how much work does it really take?
Every policy is not the same, but because I have done this so long and, spent many years working on the insurance side of things, I can have a good idea if you can get me your policy, within 30 minutes as to whether you have coverage. Okay. And there's a few key questions I just need to ask you, and then I need to see the policy. And what's super important, what a lot of people don't realize as well that I think is important, it's not just the declarations page. I mean, I will need the declarations page as well, because that spells out what your coverages are. But that is not the be all and end all. You can't just look at that and say, again, the client I was talking to this morning, their declaration page says business interruption, 12 months actual loss sustained. Okay. Yes, they have the coverage, but that's not the end of the inquiry. That's not it. Okay. That's why I was talking about how thick these policies can be, because there are a lot of different things that go into it. The good thing, Scott, is, the last time you and I did this, it was because of business interruption. It was because of COVID. And we had really bad news for people, which was we did not believe, and the courts have proven that we were right. We did not believe that business interruption was going to cover COVID. This is your classic example, because we've had a major storm where there's going to be a lot of business interruption that's going to be covered for a lot of people, and that is going to, be able to be comforting to them and help them out in a time of need for all of us.
Well, that's
so at least
great.
we have that good news this time.
Yeah, that's great. That's great news for all of our business clients and friends. But, Justin, I know that you and I are both very fortunate that we weren't too severely impacted by Hurricane Ida. We're not going to be able to go home for a while, but, compared to some other people and a lot of our friends in the New Orleans area, we're relatively unscathed. What about for our clients, friends, business owners that have, significant property damage? What kind of tips would you give them at the outset so that they can be ready for that property damage claim? Because we all know that insurance companies are going to try not to pay the claims, right? It's just like Hurricane Katrina. So how can we prevent that on the front end?
Okay. You need to be in touch with your insurance company and get a claim started immediately. You do not need to consult with us or an adjuster. You need to get a claim opened. Okay. You need to have an adjuster assigned and a claim number assigned, and you need to communicate as much in email in addition to the phone as possible to keep up that documentation. The most important thing that you can send to them from the get-go, if you've been unfortunate to have physical damage, whether it was roof damage or any type of leak, sending them the photos. The lucky thing that we have now, right, is as long as, you've got a charge with our smartphones, it does make things easier. That being said, you do not need to send them 300 pictures from the get-go. Okay. I said documentation, there is such a thing as paralysis by analysis, and you do not need to send them all of that from the get-go. Number two is, going forward, as part of that, ask them and make a claim for your additional living expenses. You should have that in your policy if you have direct physical damage. While you and I are fortunate, Scott, I live in a very sturdy condo building. I was able to check my place. I don't have damage. And I looked at my policy. My additional living expenses are not going to apply because I didn't have damage. I could be living there. I just don't have power. Again, that's not always the case. It depends on a policy review. But if you absolutely know that you have damage of some type, you need to make a claim for that. You can ask your insurance company for an advance. They may or may not give it to you. It never hurts to ask. But then when you're doing this, wherever you're staying, keep your receipts, get them emailed to you. Almost everywhere you'll stay now, whether it's even in an Airbnb or a VRBO, obviously a hotel will email it to you, but get your receipt, submit that to the insurance company right away, especially so you can prevent any potential financial hardship that you might endure with this. So that's the biggest thing. The other thing that I would encourage you to do, and again, we're happy to review this for you, is to see what your limits are for budgeting purposes. Okay? Every policy is different. It's in terms of that, the amount of coverage you have is no different than what you selected on your auto insurance policy limits. So you, just for personal, safety and budgetary reasons, I strongly encourage you to look at what your limits are so you can budget properly. especially considering the fact that, the information is still not looking good as to when we're going to have power return. Even if, you had damage that was not catastrophic, we still can't get in now, right? So those are the biggest things that I would do. Taking it a step further out, Scott, is we're hoping to get back into the city sooner rather than later. And this kind of goes back to what I said earlier with there's going to be a lot of people coming in town. They're going to tell you they're adjusters. Do not sign a contract with anyone until you know that they're licensed, until you've consulted with them. I would even ask not only for a business card, I would ask to see their driver's license. Don't sign anything without really thinking about it and verifying who it is. What you don't want to have happen, this happened a lot in Katrina too, you had a lot of out-of-state mitigation companies coming in, and their bills were incredibly inflated. And then when the insurance company sees that, you get pushed to the back of the line for sure. We saw a lot of that because then they're going to fight you on it, and it's going to mess with the rest of your claim. So it's really unfortunate that I have to be giving this advice, but it was rampant after Katrina. It will be rampant again. You need to absolutely make sure that you're working with the right people, because again, and then it goes back to with the rest of your claim and making sure that you have given them all the information in a way so that your claim can be taken seriously, can be handled properly. And in essence, Scott, you do not want to give the insurance company any reason to be skeptical about your claim or the amount you're claiming.
Right. And I mean, we lived through it, 16 years ago. Now here we are with it again. What's your biggest takeaway from Katrina that you think is useful for people in Ida? Is it don't sign a contract without talking to anybody? I mean, is that your number one takeaway? Because my number one takeaway is use the technology that we have now that we didn't have then to document everything. And then, take those photos, take those voice memos, get those names, take a picture of a driver's license, every single thing that you can document it now. So that way, if God forbid there's an issue with the insurance company later, you've got it all time stamped on your phone. Would you agree with that, Justin, or do you have another tip that you would go with?
No, I would agree with that. I would say what you mentioned, Scott, is the most important, and what I talked about not getting involved with the wrong people is also important, because what you don't want to have happen. I think if I recall correctly, Scott, we were still doing Katrina claims as late as 2012, 2013. You do not want to have that happen. I mean, think about that. That's 7 or 8 years. You do not want to have that happen. And everything that you and I have discussed, is catered to preventing that from occurring.
Right.
So that's really the biggest thing that you can do right now. Even not just pictures, we didn't cover this yet, but not just pictures of what was actually damaged in terms of structurally. Take pictures of, if the roof came down in your living room, take pictures of your couch, of your TV, and then make a list of all of that and start figuring out, if you can recall, how much those things cost, things of that nature, because again, you're going to have to provide all of that as part of your contents coverage. Obviously, if you were super unfortunate and you have a total loss, that's really a different thing. But the insurance companies, you will have to prove everything. It's something that I tell people a lot earlier in the summer for this very reason. When I'm speaking about, hurricane season and claims, I say, go home and just take some photos in each room of your house. So that way, God forbid, if anything catastrophic happens or not too catastrophic happens, but you've got damage, you know exactly what was in there, because think about it. We have lots of stuff, right? And it's important to have all those things because it's not like you keep a list of absolutely everything you have. But those are the biggest the biggest things and the biggest takeaways. Because again, your responsibility as a policyholder is to give them a proof of loss. And if you start getting pushback, you know, it makes it much harder for us, you know, and the consultants we use, whether it's the damage guys, whether it's the accounting people, the ones that we use to help package all this stuff, it makes our job easier by providing us with the information and the evidence.
And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway right now is we need the evidence. So, you know, the great thing about our firm, you know, we're kind of scattered across the Southeast right now, but everybody's working, and, you know, we have set up an email address to kind of triage hurricane claims. It's hurricane@snw.law, or you can just go to our website, snw.law, if you would like to talk to an attorney, just as a free consultation about what your rights are and what you should be looking for. You know, we've hit about 25 minutes here, Justin. So I think we're going to let you get to taking care of your dog, and I'm going to go figure out where my kids went. But I really appreciate you taking some time for us today, and for all the viewers out there, thanks for watching, and please keep in touch. We're going to be putting out a few of these videos in the next couple of weeks, because it's going to be a long road to recovery, and hopefully you won't need a lawyer, but if you do, we're here for you at Sternberg, Nackery and White. So anything?
And yeah, and Scott, I would just want to mention one other thing, Scott. You know, we, as part of that process, with us being able to be here today, and with you being decamped in Gulf Shores and me in Florida for the time being, we are completely cloud-based, which means if you consult with us and then you do need us, you can start sending us your information, and we will have it saved on our cloud-based servers and have access to it at all times. Not everyone is up and running yet. We are able to start collecting and collating that for you, that can help you in this process as well. So,
Right.
you know, you can keep that in mind in case you do need to consult with us.
Yeah, we're very fortunate that we built a law firm thinking about hurricanes, you know, hoping that they would never happen. But unfortunately, it seems like the worst. But, you know, we've weathered hurricanes, pandemic, you know, we'll make it through this. We're very resilient in Louisiana, and we're excited to be a part of the recovery in New Orleans going forward.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, Justin, you be safe. And thanks again for taking some time with us, and everybody, take care of yourselves. Take care.
Thank you, Scott. You too. Take care, everyone. Be safe.